All right, welcome back to Beyond the Surface podcast, where we sit down with thoughtful leaders in the healthcare space, uncovering their pain points, the innovations they're driving, and unseen forces shaping the future of care. I'm your host, and today I'm joined by Dr. Alicehudnallcash, the founder of Surgical Serenity Solutions, a company at the intersection of music, medicine, and technology. Alice has pioneered the use of curated, evidence-based music interventions to ease surgical anxiety, improve recovery, and enhance patient experience. Her work blends decades of experience as a clinical musicologist and a therapist with a mission to transform how we think about healing environments. How are we feeling today, Alice?
I am feeling wonderful. I'm so optimistic about the future of music and healthcare. Every day, I just look forward to spreading the word in every way I can think of. And this is a great one. So appreciate you inviting me.
Oh, it's a pleasure. Uh, s- I would love to know the origin story. Let the audience know a little bit who you are and how did you found the Serenity Solutions company that you have today?
Okay. Well, I went to college as a piano major, and I got a bachelor's degree in piano performance and a master's degree in piano performance. And then I taught on the college level for about 7 or 8 years, decided I wanted to go back and get a PhD. So I got a PhD in musicology, which is research into music, at various kinds of research. Usually it's historical research. So back into Beethoven and Bach and Gregorian chant and things like that. But in my case, I wanted to go into the medical uses of music. And music therapy did not exist in Kentucky at that time.
Oh, wow.
So, music therapy has been around in modern times since about 1950. Right
Oh, okay.
after World War II, music therapy got started in a very serious way in the veterans hospitals. But for some reason, Kentucky did not officially have a music therapy program until 2000, and this was about 1990. So I got a wonderful job at the University of Louisville School of Medicine, and they had just created a department called the Arts and Medicine. And I was hired to be the coordinator of music in medicine. But they had art and medicine, drama as medicine, photography, all kinds of artistic
Yeah.
ways to engage patients. This was in the Department of Psychiatry mainly. And so shortly after I started working there, they said, Alice, you need a clinical degree, and we'll pay for you to get whatever clinical degree you'd like to get. So I thought, well, it's a little late for me to start going to medical school. So how about social work?
Yeah, yeah.
So I went and got a master's in social work, which has been very, very helpful and allows me to step into hospitals and work with patients using both social work and music
Oh,
and to
wow.
get reimbursed by insurance. And that's a big plus because a lot of music therapists don't get reimbursed.
Mm.
So I have a very valuable set of credentials that allow me to make my living doing this.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
I wanted to help. I wanted to reach as many people as I could, and so I was sent to some wonderful workshops around the country in Colorado and Arizona, and learned about chanting and toning and drumming and all kinds of fun things. But the one thing I realized did not exist was an intervention, a musical intervention for surgery patients.
Mm.
And it just so happened that I found out in 94 that I needed back surgery.
Mm.
And I have a very low pain threshold. I mean, basically, I'm a scaredy cat. So I started thinking, how could I use music to help myself with this back surgery? And I had read that slow, steady instrumental music was very calming to everybody in general. But I thought, what if I chose some music for myself? I was my first guinea pig that has those characteristics. And in 1993, I don't know, you may not have been born then, but all we had was cassette players. And so I made three cassette tapes for myself, one for before the surgery while I was waiting to be taken into the OR, one for during surgery,
Yes.
and then one for the recovery area. And each one of these tapes had a different tempo. So the first one was a little bit faster. The second one went way down to put my brain waves in the theta state.
Oh,
And
wow.
then when I came out of surgery, the tempo would pick up a little bit. So that would bring my consciousness back up. And when I woke up, I would be hearing this music. So that was the beginning. The question was, how can I how can I get this out there so that millions of people can use it? And at first I was thinking, I mean, a few years later, CDs came along. So I was
Mm,
thinking I could create a set of CDs that we would market around the world. And whatever hospital wanted to pay for it, it would be that hospital's music and surgery CDs.
mm-hmm.
But that was not happening. People in Kentucky are not cutting edge typically. So, no pun intended. Uh, so I went to a conference. I had started speaking. I started getting lots of invitations to speak about music and medicine and music and healing. And in 2005, the National Speakers Association sponsored a wonderful seminar in Cancun called Cancun University. And I thought, I really need to go to that. I'd never been to Cancun. And I thought, this sounds like an ideal way to mix business with pleasure. And they called it a university because there were four possible tracks that you could major in. And one of them was product innovation. And another one was email marketing. And
Mm,
those things were just beginning to get started. This was 2005. So my major was product innovation and my minor was email marketing. I mean, I did have a website by then, but I didn't know anything about a mailing list or,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
you know, all of that. So the very first day of my seminar, our professor said, think of an intervention or an invention that solves a universal problem and
Mm,
is very easy and inexpensive to implement. And he said, for example, think of the man who invented the cardboard collar for hot coffee. That was a very easy intervention. It was a very easy product to create and not expensive. But he's retired on a beach somewhere. I mean, that is everywhere. You don't buy a cup of coffee that doesn't have that little cardboard collar.
yep.
So that was our example. Well, that very night, I went back to my room at this beautiful hotel and I thought, what if we could make headphones that are pre-programmed somehow with soothing, calming, therapeutic music? Some kind of a chip that you could put the music on and then just sell the headphones to hospitals
Mm,
so that they're waiting for the patient every day when that day surgery patients arrive. And most hospitals have 20 ORs. And I would say each OR sees at least 7 or 8 patients a day.
oh, wow.
And so if we could just have constantly recurring sales to hospitals, then I could seriously get this idea out there and help a lot of people calm their anxiety and pain perception without taking a lot of potentially addictive drugs. I mean,
Mm,
opioids for one thing, but just the anxiety medications, Xanax and Valium. I mean, people go in for surgery and they get hooked on those drugs.
yeah.
And not to mention anesthesia. So the least anesthesia, I mean, this is not instead of anesthesia, but this is as an adjunct, so you don't need as much.
Mm-hmm.
So I went back to the teacher at the Cancun University, and he said, Alice, it sounds like a great idea to me, but your next step is to see if anyone has already done that. So you
Mm,
have to do a patent search. So I spent the next night searching the internet, combing everything to see if anybody had done that. And to my surprise and delight, no one had ever done that. And part of that was because until 2005, there was not the miniaturization possibility that they
mm,
were just beginning to have with microchips and MP3 files and things like that. I did run into a surgeon actually here in Louisville who said in the early 1950s, he paid a lady to be in the corner of the OR with a record player. And she had 78 RPM records, and she would turn them over, change records, flip them over, the entire
Wow.
surgery. That's all she did was she was a DJ basically, but with slow, soothing music. And
Yeah.
he said it worked like a charm. Everybody loved it. But where surgeons were getting about that period of time was the surgeon had music, but it was chosen for the surgeon, not for the patient.
Mm.
And I realized that most surgeons apparently chose upbeat rock and roll a lot of times. And there was a surgeon in Louisville that was playing Another One Bites the Dust by Queen during surgery. And I was like, oh no, that is awful. That's not that's not nice, to do that for a patient.
No, it's not.
So that was another reason I thought if the patient could have their music coming through headphones that go directly into the brain through the eighth cranial nerve, then the surgeon can have ambient music. And if he
Mm.
wants to listen to rock and roll or, whatever he wants to listen to, that's fine. But I think it's very important for the patient to have their own music and music that has been curated to have that tempo that entrains with the body's own heart rate and breathing and slows it down naturally and immediately. And I have to say, Spotify is not going to do that. And a lot of ORs are using Spotify and they're thinking, oh, perfect solution. Not only is it not the perfect solution, it's illegal to play
Mm.
Spotify in a business if you don't have a license. You are
Oh,
supposed to have a healthcare license if you're going to play Spotify or Apple Family Sharing or any of those.
oh wow. I
And a
wasn't
lot
aware.
of people don't know that.
So you're saying the doctors are playing this music, or okay, because patients typically aren't playing the music, in their headphones, because most people aren't probably having headphones during the surgery, right? This is where you come in and you're like, hey, I have
Right,
these specific
right, right.
devices. And
Just for surgery.
right, which kind of leads me to my next question.
Okay.
So, let the audience know, are you currently B2B or are you B2C? Are you only directing your sales to these hospitals and that's the only way clients can get a hold of them? Or are you saying, hey, I have this other, be a direct to consumer and anyone can get their hands on these devices and they can bring them for whatever time and need that they have?
So glad you asked me that. Yes, you can do both. Originally, I was primarily marketing to the patient. And
Okay.
then a lot of doctors and a lot of serious entrepreneurs and successful entrepreneurs came to me and said, Alice, your target market is the hospitals, and they will get the headphones to the patients. But
Mm,
in case you live somewhere that does not know about this yet or have funds for that, then the patient can also buy the headphones directly on my website, which is surgicalserenitysolutions.com, and you can buy one headset. Hospitals now can also buy MP3 players, and they are a lot smaller than the headphones, but they can also be co-branded for the hospital.
oh
So if
wow.
the hospital's buying to the MP3 players, the VA hospital here in Louisville just bought
Mhm.
180 MP3 players, and they're co-branded for the Robley Rex VA hospital. So it can come partially out of the marketing budget and partly out of surgery budget.
Right. And if anyone's curious or doesn't know, what's the difference between, what's the difference between the MP3 player and
Hmm.
the headphone set?
Okay. I have a wonderful picture that I don't know, I don't think I could share my screen right now, but basically headphones are headphones and the
Right.
music is on a chip in the headphones.
Okay.
Okay. The MP3 player is a small thing, sort of like an iPod used to look, and it
Okay.
has earbuds that you plug in to the side. So the
Okay.
headphones are completely cordless. The MP3 player does have corded earbuds that attach.
Okay. And so these headphones are like, they don't need to connect to a phone or anything.
Bluetooth, no, the
They just have
music is
music.
already there, totally
Amazing.
self-contained. Yeah, I mean, I thought it was a great idea, and
Okay.
I am never sure whether people totally understand. These are totally self-contained. The music, the power, it's all in the headphone. And if a hospital wants to buy like 100 headphones, they can reuse those between patients. Just wipe down the band with an antibacterial spray, and then I
Mhm.
have disposable uh, paper sort of earpiece covers, like made out of the
Okay,
same
that's smart.
material as the surgical cap or the mask or something. These are little covers for the earpieces. And that way they can buy as many headphones as they want and use them with all their patients, unless I would say, unless the patient is severely immune compromised.
Mm,
If they come in and they have a really serious infection or something like that.
yeah.
But if we're talking about joint replacement surgery, which for me is an ideal use for these, if you're having
Yes.
your knee replaced, you're not really sick. You just got a bad knee.
Yes.
And same with the hip or ankle, shoulder, they replace all those joints now. So I think headphones, if you can afford them, now they are 250 a piece.
Okay.
That still is a deal, I think, considering all the benefits that come from that.
And how
And
much music is on the headphones?
I have 5 playlists. You choose one. I have
Okay.
classical, jazz, new age, lullabies, and memory care. Each playlist is about an hour long and it repeats continuously until the battery runs down, which is
Okay.
usually 7 or 8 hours. And that's plenty of time
Oh,
for
whoa.
most surgeries.
Okay. And then again, this is just another technical issue because I'm so curious. Um,
Sure.
because the headphones are just the headphones, how are you shifting through the music? Like, because it's not connected to, I guess, like a phone. Does it just, you just turn them on and then music just turns on and it just goes one by one? You can't really maybe sort through the music, or how does
No,
that?
no, I have purposely put them in an order that
Okay.
I think is
Okay.
going to help the rhythmic entrainment aspect so that the
Okay.
heart
That
rate
makes,
and the
it's a
breath.
system. It's a
Yeah, it's a
very,
system. So you don't want to be mixing up or skipping around to different. And
okay.
besides that, you're under anesthesia, so you're
Oh
not going to
yeah.
be fiddling with it.
Okay. Yeah, I keep thinking I'm like I'm
Entertain.
thinking I'm thinking they're using it like, just the regular, and they probably could help even studying for
Abs
school or
exam or
yeah.
yes, working on your taxes. Yeah, before I hit on the music and surgery, I did music and healing in general.
Mm,
And one of the people I studied with was a man named Don Campbell, who wrote a book called The Mozart Effect that was
okay.
very well known around the late 90s. And he said that listening to Mozart specifically, when you really need to focus, Mozart helps your brain zone in on what balancing your checkbook, working on your taxes, studying for SAT, whatever it might be. You should be listening to Mozart. But I have said my headphones are, I mean, one of my daughters used them for C-section. She had three
Mhm.
C-sections and she wore the headphones all the way through. And she said, Mom, it helped me so much because they had like 10 women lined up that were supposed to have C-sections that day. And there was only a curtain between each one. And between each curtain was a woman and her husband, and a lot of times they were not having happy conversations. She was like, this is your fault we're here. If 9 months ago you hadn't blah blah blah, we wouldn't be here. And you hadn't got the car seat in the car. Julie said it was awful. And so those headphones, she said, saved her life because this
Yeah.
was her first child. And if she had had to listen to all this unhappy chatter, it would have been not so good.
The last thing a woman needs to hear when they're having this like massive like surgery.
Right.
Oh man. Wow, that's all like really I'm just so fascinated by the innovation. Truly, like I'm smiling ear to ear because I'm just thinking of I've never had any major surgeries, but I am like studying, and so I'm already thinking how I can integrate it. So I think that's really, really awesome because I have undiagnosed ADHD, and so I get
Yes.
distracted easily. Like I only have my podcast here, but I actually go to coffee shops to hold conversations and do work just because
Mm.
I just get distracted. I'll put on a show, watch Sex in the City. I just, my mind is just like, do, 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 So,
Same here.
yeah.
I have
So,
it too. Yeah.
yeah, I feel like everyone does. Like, I feel like everyone, it's just because we live in such a stimulating environment. Like, we're just
Environment.
constantly being stimulated by our phones, our computers, everything. It's just like, so it's,
Shiny object.
Right, right. Awesome. Well, I'm going to switch gears here for a moment, and I
Okay.
want to ask you, what has been your biggest barrier to scaling? Distribution, regulatory, hospital adoption, education costs, or reimbursement?
Mm. Well, I mean, I would have to say, yeah, all of them a little bit, but probably I think one of the biggest barriers might be um, reimbursement because in order to get insurance reimbursement, you have to have a code, a procedure code. Like I'm a therapist. And so when I bill insurance for a 1 hour therapy session, it's 98347. And that code has been there long before I became a therapist. But
Mhm.
if the hospital wants to bill for therapeutic music headphone device, then somebody is going to have to pay for a code to be developed. It's not just something you apply for and get 3 months later. So, I mean, it is so expensive that
Yeah.
I would have to probably have an insurance company or somebody that would pay for the procedure to get that code.
Oh, wow.
So it is kind of an out of pocket type thing. But one of my ideas initially was I should market these to plastic surgery spas because people who go for plastic surgery, they're not really expecting their insurance to pay for a
Oh,
facelift
no,
or
absolutely not.
anything like that. It's going to be an out of pocket thing
Right.
anyway.
Hmm.
And a plastic surgery spa could brand these headphones for themselves, you know. So I had thought Beverly Hills, South Beach, and Manhattan, that's who I need to go straight for plastic surgeons.
Yes. Yes. And did you go that route? And if you did, how did that go?
Well, I've gotten a lot of interest, but I think maybe they'll buy two headphones and then just keep reusing them. And
Okay.
then a lot of people, sad to say, will say, "Oh, I just use Spotify. It'll do the same thing."
Okay. So it's really tailoring it and getting people to see the importance of using your device. I think having
Well,
better
and
quality.
educating people to the fact that the music that I have developed over a 50-year career is
Yes.
not going to be the same as just turning on Spotify, not to
Yeah.
mention the fact that you're supposed to have a license and you could get a gigantic fine if you get found out.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So where do you see Serenity Solutions 5 years from now? How do you envision it continuing to make the impact as I already have, but what do you see it as the future?
My dream would be for a big hospital system like Cleveland Clinic, Mayo Clinic, Johns Hopkins, even the VA system, which has hundreds of hospitals around the world, for my company to be purchased by a big hospital system. And the headphones would be branded for that system. It would be an exclusive sort of item because I did get a patent in 2008.
Awesome.
So I will sell the patent with the company. And I think somebody like Cleveland Clinic, there are 12 Cleveland clinics around the world, including one in Abu Dhabi, one in Paris, one in London. And they have the money to get them out everywhere. And not only that, but to get a code finally so that hospitals can get reimbursed for using the headphones and the music.
Okay, yes. Yes. So right now, with the hospitals that you're working with, they're still doing the reimburse system, or are they, buying it directly, or
No, they're buying them directly. Yeah.
okay.
Uh, as I said, most recently, I sold 180 of the MP3 players to the VA hospital.
Yes.
And I found out that all the VA hospitals now have a department called Whole Health, WHOLE Health. And they have a budget of like 10,000 a quarter. And they
Yeah,
can use that for anything that they think is a holistic wellness type intervention for the veterans.
absolutely.
So the
Absolutely. Oh, wow.
one here, I mean, one quarter they got a massage chair, and another quarter they got, the headphones and the MP3 players, and another quarter they got something else that was wonderful. So
Yeah.
if I could get into that whole health program in every VA, and I actually did another podcast this past Friday with a woman who said, Alice, there are military hospitals all over the world. And if you could get in with somebody like the Center for Medicare and Medicaid, and now Dr. Oz, who knows all about holistic health, is
Yeah.
head of that. And she said, you need to get in touch with him and he will get you into the military hospitals.
Wow, yeah, that would be a really great goal, and I'm pretty sure you can achieve it. I mean, like it's come so far,
I
and I
know.
can only see it keep evolving.
Growing.
Um, so I wanted to ask you if money and time was not an object, and you had a magic wand, what would you solve right now?
Oh, well, first of all, I would put headphones in every hospital. I would see that every hospital had those ready to go. And I would put my time then into making more and more playlists because I feel like every country in the world, every China, India, South Africa, every place has their own ethnic music. And we need to
Mhm.
have surgery playlists that have everybody's favorite music to relax to. So if I could get my business sold, because I do have a goal to retire and spend more time with my grandchildren and do more cruises,
Yes.
I would love to put out a new playlist every month, really. And I
Yeah.
think I could do that.
Yeah. So you would love to put more of your time and your passion into what got you started in this first place, which is the music. You
Right.
know, as you know, I know you're an artist and I'm an artist, and sometimes the business side can,
Interfere
yeah,
with
it
the
can
creative.
interfere. It can interfere with the creative process. So obviously, clearing up space and time and having that to actually produce quality music, it makes a massive difference to everyone, like
Right,
globally,
right.
right? Um, I did ask you to please bring one or two stories of how your business had impacted someone significantly. Can you please share one of those stories with me?
Absolutely. Actually, my very first patient that I helped was my mother.
Wow.
And she was probably late 70s herself. And she lived in South Carolina. I'm in Kentucky. So I got a phone call one day saying, Alice, you need to come down to South Carolina. Mama needs heart bypass surgery.
Oh
And
my
I had just begun to get into the music and surgery thing. So I thought, let me grab a stack of CDs and drive down there and see how I can help my mother. So when I got down there, she said, well, Alice, I really don't like wearing headphones. I'd rather not do that. And I'm like, Mama, you've got to do this. I mean, there's all kind of research saying how much it helps, and you will need less anesthesia. And with a bad heart, you don't need to have any more anesthesia than necessary. And, besides, this is what I do for a living. What will people think if my own mother won't try it? And she said, okay, Alice, I'll do it. I'll do it. You pick out whatever music you think is best as long as it's not nearer my God to thee. So that's what they played when the Titanic was going down, the
Oh, okay.
so I said, okay, we won't play that. So
Valid.
we picked out a CD of some beautiful classical Handel's water music. And the surgeon said, sure, it's fine for her to have that playing. And she had headphones and a Walkman by that time. And so we weren't sure that she would make it through the surgery. It turned out to be five
Oh,
heart bypasses. So my father and I waited in the waiting room. I'd say 6 or 7 hours anyway, while they were doing all of this, because they didn't know until they got in exactly how bad it was going to be. They
oh
didn't
wow.
have the tools they have now. And but finally the surgeon came out and he said, you can go and speak to your wife and your mother for just a few minutes. She made it through and we think she's going to be fine. So we walked into this recovery area and it was kind of like the C-section thing. Everybody just had a curtain between their bed and people were moaning and crying and saying, nurse, nurse. But there was my mother with her headphones on. She didn't hear any of that. But when she saw me, her eyes opened and she kind of propped up a little bit and she said, "Oh, Alice, the music was beautiful. Bum, 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 bum." And I thought, wow, for somebody that wasn't very enthused, she said, I'll never have surgery with that music again. It made
Wow.
such a difference. And she said, I didn't have to hear other people crying and moaning and carrying on. And she said, it just made a huge difference. Thank you so much for giving me this.
Yeah, that's really beautiful. And I didn't even know they could hear what can because I always felt like when you're on anesthesia, you're like unconscious, right?
Yes. Okay. Let me explain that.
Okay.
That's kind of a popular misconception.
Okay.
So one, as you're going under, you're hearing the music. But once you're under, your body still responds to that steady pulse and the vibrations. You're not consciously hearing it. But
Okay.
once the surgery is over and you're coming to again, then the music suddenly is easing into your consciousness. And it's a very orienting thing. It lets you know, okay, I'm still in the hospital. The surgery must be over. I'm still alive. And
Yes.
it's a very good thing. But it's helpful not only because the body is responding, even though you're not consciously hearing it, but it's blocking out the surgeon's music, whatever that might be,
Mhm.
conversations that the patients oftentimes wake up and they'll say, I heard the doctor say, this is worse than we thought. They're not going to be around long. I mean, they should know better than that, but they still,
Terrible.
they slip and they say things that the patient actually hears. Or one lady said that she heard the nurses talking about their lunch and what they had for lunch, and they don't need to be hearing that.
No, it's incredibly inappropriate, to be honest.
Exactly. So when you have headphones on that's putting this soothing, beautiful, rhythmic music in your ears, then you don't have to hear the bleeps and blips of machines, conversations, scary statements. I mean, it's a win-win in so many ways.
Absolutely. It also helps the hospitals have returning customers. I mean, they don't have to.
Patient satisfaction. That's
Thank you.
right.
Very important because, that's the last thing a patient wants is like if they're going under this major surgery and then, the doctors are talking about how their son is got accepted to NYU, like whatever. It's like
Right.
keep your personal, you know what I mean? Because
Exactly. Or
remember
didn't get
that.
accepted.
Oh, exactly.
Even worse.
Right, exactly. And you remember that, like, I'm sure not just for that day, you probably remember that for the rest of your life, knowing. And I'm curious to how it does affect the psyche. And then the whole point of what you're doing is to, get the body into frequency. It sounds like it's in a, but I don't want to use the word zen, but like of a state of love, a state of relaxation, a state of acceptance,
Openness and
openness. Yeah, for
yeah,
sure.
exactly. Exactly.
Well, I have time for one more story. Do you have another story you would like to tell us?
Well, I've got some wonderful testimonials on my site, by the way, some
Okay.
videos.
Yes.
But one
Yes.
of my another favorite story is just a friend who had this disease that's, have you heard of brittle bone disease, where the bones just break so easily, and they they find out when the baby's born. Sometimes they're born with a broken shoulder or things like that. And anyway, she was having her, I think it was 55th surgery.
Oh, wow.
And she heard about my headphones because we both went to the same music school. And she said, Alice, I think I need to try your headphones for this hand surgery it was going to be. And so I took them down to the hospital and put them on her. And I had already explained how they worked. And they took her away to surgery, and she was peacefully listening to the music. And they brought her back about, I don't know, hour and a half, 2 hours later. And she woke up as I was there. I watched her wake up. And she woke up with a smile on her face. And she said, that was the most amazing experience I've ever had. I've had 55 surgeries. And she said, Alice, I've never had one like that. And everybody needs to get these headphones. It just
Yeah.
made all the difference.
Yeah. If you're not excited by hearing that, then I don't know I don't know what to tell you guys. Well, awesome. It seriously, truly, please remind us one more time where we can find you, where people can find these headphones for the audience.
Okay, they're on www, of course, surgicalserenitysolutions.com. And I have two free reports that people can download if they'd like. One is about how to talk to your doctor, how to let your doctor know that you want to use music through headphones during your surgery. So it's just that website, surgicalserenitysolutions.com slash talk number two DR, talk
Okay.
to doctor. That's one of the free reports. You download it, and it gives a lot of the research that doctors are going to want to know that this has been well researched. This is not some kind of a woo-woo idea. And then the other one is just for general patient information about how music heals the mind and the body. And that's surgicalserenitysolutions.com slash boost. So
Amazing.
boost your health and wellness with music. And then they all have a link to the website. You can also just Google my name, Dr. Alice Cash, and everything will come up. Well, if you'll follow
Easy to
me.
find.
Yes, I'm easy to find. I'm on Instagram, uh, Twitter or X, LinkedIn, Facebook. I have a Facebook group called Music in the Hospital. And I'm just trying to educate and make people love this like I do.